Hey guys, welcome back to my Hypertrophy 1.0 program. You guys can download it in the description, no strings attached. It's completely free. I made it so that you guys could follow along while I demonstrate it. Anyways, we're back with week 3, day 4, and we're doing another push day. So chest, shoulders, and triceps. Starting off with the machine bench press today. And I added 10 pounds, so we're up to 130 pounds. I'm going to try and hit that 12 repetition mark, which I hit last time. But that time I only got 120 pounds, so now we're up to 130. Just a little form tidbit with chest is for like pretty much every chest exercise, you want to be squeezing your scapula together. So squeezing your shoulder blades together and then puffing out your chest and keeping your deltoid, so your shoulders back. And then basically what this is doing is it's bringing the chest to the forefront so that you're engaging less of your other muscle groups which may want to take over or assist. So it's kind of just a way to reinforce stability and activate your chest more than you may have otherwise. And I like to kind of bring my whole low back off of the pad in this case to increase the range of motion of the handlebars. Anyway, let's hit 12. Okay, I actually got 13, so I'm pretty happy with that. I think the reason why I got more repetitions this time versus last session is last session I begun the session. I began it with the dumbbell incline bench press, so the free weight exercise, and therefore my chest was probably like pretty taxed by the time I tackled this one because I think I did this exercise at the very end last time because of what was like available at the gym at the time. And sometimes you just gotta, reorganize your program depending on what's available. Some people I think would just wait, but I don't know. I don't have that kind of time, and I don't think that you guys probably do either. And sometimes I don't even think that's ideal. I mean, if you're just waiting around, you're gonna kind of lose the gusto and the desire to really kick ass in your workout. I feel like, you know what I mean. Um, what else was I gonna say? Oh, yeah, you guys can't see my feet, but I have them pretty well planted. I kind of like push my quads. I push my feet into the ground with my quads, which also increases stability. So it's also helping kind of um, push the weight as well. And if your legs were like dangling off the bench, then I think that you would probably be losing a lot of power. For instance, a lot of people, well, not a lot of people, but you see from time to time, they're benching with their feet up, like on a barbell bench press with their feet up, with their feet just like almost like a plank, like it's just straight out. And I think that that's a major mistake because you want that force output through the ground. That will help you produce more power. So if you're losing that stable effect from pushing your feet into the ground, then I think that you're probably not going to be able to put up the same amount of weight as you could otherwise. So I think it's a pretty big mistake to do that. But some people they're training for different goals. They may not be training just for that power and hypertrophy, that muscle growth factor that this program that I created, Hypertrophy 1.0, is all about. They could be training just for, maybe they just want to get creative with their stuff. Maybe they don't know. Maybe they don't know that it's probably not the best idea. Some people just listen to others and they don't actually know why something is good or something is bad. And I think that's fine if you're just looking for minimal results. You just want to have like a on paper good workout. But if you're looking to get the most out of your training, which I think that why wouldn't you? You're at the gym anyway. If you're going to be coming to the gym, why wouldn't you want to get the most out of it? Because training is ultimately difficult. It's a difficult and arduous process. So why not learn the most you can? Anyway, enough yapping. Let's get into it. Okay, I stopped at 12 there. I don't think that 13th rep would have been the full range of motion. So to complete lockout, I think it would have been just a half rep. I probably should have went for the half rep anyway, just because, just to like confirm that I made it all the way. But I think it's okay. I still think that was a good set. I think that my tempo was relatively good and my technique was relatively good. That's another thing is I've been trying to make my tempo a lot better, and what that means for hypertrophy is I'm exploding on the concentric, the positive, the pushing part in this exercise, and I'm trying to just make that like as fast and as efficient as possible. And then on the eccentric, that lowering phase, the negative in this case, I'm trying to aim for at least like a 2 to 4 second negative. And what that looks like is just controlling the weight down. You're not forcing it to be ultra slow, because then you're going to be fatiguing yourself too much without yielding the greatest results. But you're also not just letting it fall, because if you're just letting it fall, then you're not going to be getting anything out of the eccentric lowering phase. And it's well understood at this point that the lowering or eccentric phase produces more growth than the concentric phase because it produces more muscle damage for whatever reason. And after all, what we're doing is causing tears in our muscles on like a microscopic level, and then your body has to repair it with amino acids, protein, in order to replenish it back to its former glory, and then some. It actually increases. That's how hypertrophy happens. It's not forming new muscle fibers or anything. It's just enlarging the ones that you already have. Yeah, I think that was enough rest. I should honestly start timing my rest periods, like just to make sure that I'm hitting at least a couple minutes. I think that would be a good rule of thumb. But I don't like being on my phone all the time. Maybe I'll have to get a stopwatch. Well, I have a stopwatch. Maybe I'll have to start using it. Two more. I'll take it. I think that was a great set too. So great start to the session. All right, next up, I'm getting into the primary compound movement for the chest for this day, which is I'm actually going for kind of like a lower incline, so not quite a 45, maybe like a 30-degree incline. And we're doing the dumbbell bench press. And I love this one because you can get a great stretch, and then you also get adduction of the arm across the body, which is another function of the chest. But anyways, let's get into the first set. I think I got around 8 to 10 last time. So I'm going up 5 pounds. So we're up to 80-pound dumbbells. So I'm going to try my best to hit that metric again. All right, that's definitely going to do it for that set. I got 8. I really know that I'm like near the end of a set when I start to like push one side of the body up a little bit more than the other. That's how you know that you're probably losing your stamina for that set, because you're starting to have to sway and use your abs and all this stuff in order to get up one side over the other. So I'll do it for that one. Fortunately, that was only 7, so I'm thinking next week we're gonna have to stick to the 80s, because I don't want to go any lower than 6 or 7 reps. That's the bottom end of the range that I programmed for this exercise. So we're gonna stick to this weight until I start getting stronger and hit that like 10 rep range, 8 to 10 rep range at least, maybe 10 to 12, and then I'll consider going up. We're gonna stay here for a little bit though. All right, up next I'm doing the cable upright row, and for this week we're up to 5 sets. But last time I got 12 repetitions for all 5 sets, so it actually wasn't too bad. I mean, that's on like the upper range where I want for this particular exercise. So I'm going up 5 pounds. We're going from 52.5 to 57.5. And then I'm going to try and get up to that 12. If I don't get up to it though, I'm completely fine with that, since I'm already increasing the load. So it's already a form of progressive overload in of itself. On top of that, we're already doing 5 sets, which is a ton of volume for the shoulders. So let's get into it.
Been here since yesterday.
Oh my gosh, wait. It's not even more.
Watch it over.
Never mind.
Again, I got 12 repetitions with some ease. It wasn't too bad. So I think I'm going to go up again. We're going to go to 62.5. And I'm only doing this because, I hit that repetition range, but my form is also pretty good, I think. I'm controlling the weight. I'm not swaying my body. I'm not using my upper traps too much. Really just focusing on lifting with this side delt. And it just feels really good. So I think maybe I just actually got stronger at it. So I think that it is time to go up a little bit. It's important that even though we're doing 5 sets, to not rush through the sets. In other words, don't rush your rest periods. Definitely take as much time as you would on any other exercise of this caliber. There's certain exercises where you're going to want to be resting more innately just because they demand more out of you, like squats or deadlifts, for example. You're just using more of your muscles. You're using more of your body to lift those weights. This one, I mean, you're just moving your shoulder and your elbow joint really. So it's entirely upper body. There's not too many muscles involved. It is more than something like a cable side lateral raise or something. So it'll require more rest on that, but it doesn't require much. Well, that doesn't mean that you shouldn't give it how much rest it deserves. So I think that this exercise deserves at least 1 to 2 minutes in between sets. So I'm giving it that. If you're only doing like 30 seconds, then are those even 2 different sets, or is that like a cluster set? I think it's called, where you do part of a set, rest a few seconds, do another part of a set. It should be counted as one set at that point. And I think that a good proxy for figuring out if you're rushing into your sets is, are you underperforming on that like second one? You know, if you do one and then only rest 30 seconds and you don't hit the same reps or even near them as you did on your first set, then you are definitely not resting long enough and you should be resting longer. Anyway, I rested about 2 minutes there. So, okay, so this is 5 pounds more. We're gonna hit 12. Okay, that was definitely a lot better. I don't think that by going up that I could hit 12 again. So I think that that's a good number to keep it at for the rest of the sets. I got 3 more sets. I was definitely nearing failure at the end. I probably could have gone another rep and a half, but as long as you're like within 0 to 3 reps shy of absolute failure, and you're in the clear, in my opinion. And in fact, if you're going to failure on every single set, you may find some recovery issues in the long run. I still think that if you're having trouble finding that breaking point, that failure point, then you're probably going to want to experiment with it at least a little bit, because if you're stopping shy of failure and you're not sure if you're within, 3 or less reps shy of absolute muscular failure, then you may be not achieving as much as you could. You know what I mean? So I think it's worth it to play around with that threshold and figure out where it is for you. For example, me with a lot of lower body movements, I would, in the past, before this program, I would stop shy of failure, like 4 reps shy, 5 reps shy. So it wasn't in that golden zone that you want to be in, but I thought that I was. And the reason for that is just because leg movements are so taxing that you think that you're at that point when you really aren't. And only through doing this program and getting some feedback from some of you guys have I realized I'm not training my legs hard enough. And you can see it. I mean, my legs are like noticeably smaller than my upper body. So I'm fighting every leg day to close that disparity, close that distance. I think that a lot of trainers may, lower the upper body volume to make room for the lower body volume to close the gap in out of my issues that I have going on. However, I just love training upper body so much, and I think that when you're behind in a certain body part, but you train it equally as hard as ones that are further developed, I think that the gap will close. It'll take longer, but it will close eventually, because when you're underdeveloped, it's easier to build. When you're overdeveloped, it's harder to build. So eventually that gap is going to close. It may not close completely. So maybe one day in the future, a couple of years from now, I may have to do like a leg specialized hypertrophy program, but I don't think that day has come yet. Anyway, I think that was about a minute and a half or 2 minutes. Okay. Another pretty good set. Could be a little bit better, I think, but it is pretty good. I think that, like I said in the beginning of this workout, you want at least like 2 to 4 seconds of that eccentric lowering phase. That's what really separates like the pros from the average. If you look at really successful people in their field, like C-Bum or something, and you look at his technique, it's like pitch perfect. You know, we're not all gonna get that jacked. Not all of us want to get that jacked. However, I do think that like the reason why he's up there is work ethic and genetics. And not all of us can have those genetics because that's something that we're born with. We can't choose our parents. However, we can all develop that work ethic. Work ethic is a skill. You can develop it. So don't try and just use genetics as an excuse, because I'm sure that you can get a lot further than you think if you lock your form down and really put in as much effort and personal development into that skill as you can. That should be 4. Well, that time I did try a little bit harder to lock in that tempo and that form. I think that a lot of you, myself included to some degree, are going to have a really like alarming wake up call when you try and like maximize your technique and tempo. You're going to realize that, wow, I can't lift the same weights that I'm used to lifting. I have to go way down. You know, I mean, this applies to anything in life, anything that you're rushing through. Say you got like a school project or something, you've been procrastinating on it, and then you just do it as quickly as possible. You got it done, you got an A, whatever. I guarantee you, if you went back and repeated the process, actually took your time with it and had like a good sense of timing and, you know, tempo and all that jazz that pertains to writing a paper, you're going to be a lot more successful overall. So what I'm trying to say is take time doing what you love. You know what I mean? Take time doing what you love. All right, let's finish up this exercise. God dang. Freaking moral of the story. No matter what weight you start with, by the time you're on set 5 of a given exercise, it's going to be a fucking bitch. Part of my language. I don't mean to cuss. It's going to be very challenging towards the end, no matter what. Next up, we're just going to finish off the shoulders, the lateral deltoid in specific, with the cable lateral raise. I'll be leaning a little bit to one side, so that basically will increase the range of motion. Because if you're limited from here to here, that's one thing, but
when you're leaning like this, then you can go all the way back here and get more of a stretch. And the reason why I like the cable variation is probably like it's in my top 3 favorite side lateral, just shoulder builders. And the reason for that is because the cable provides constant tension no matter where you're at in the range of motion, versus something like a dumbbell. Once you stop having the dumbbell in line with gravity, then you lose that tension. So the cable is a nice way to increase tension. And after all, our muscles only know tension. So the more tension that you can provide in a certain range of motion, the more hypertrophy and growth that you're going to get. So I like to lean a little bit and use the cable. Try and keep a rigid posture. Try not to shrug your shoulder much if you can. It's hard to separate muscle groups like that love to work together. Yeah, that's something to speak about, is that you can't really separate certain muscle groups from working together. A lot of muscle groups have similar functions or are meant to work together. So, while you can try and separate it, you're never going to entirely. The body's not meant to move that way. I don't need as much rest in between sets for this because of the nature of doing a unilateral movement. Since you're alternating sides, you're resting on the side that you're not using already. So I basically already got 30 seconds of rest on my right side because I just finished up with my left. So in a couple seconds, we'll get back into it. This exercise is really to accumulate volume without accumulating fatigue. It's a way so that we can build our shoulders without impairing our chest recovery and stuff like that. Something I want to talk about is, I used to think I need my shoulder to be fully extended, my elbow to be fully extended and straight while I do this. And while you can, because that's going to increase the lever arm and make it more challenging, you don't have to. I think that the biggest thing to keep in mind with something like this is your elbow should stay the same angle that it's at for the whole lift. So if you have it at a 90 like this, keep it at a 90. Because you don't want to be involving your tricep if you can help it. If you're involving your tricep, then you're going to help do the motion. So I have a slight bend because that just feels natural for me. If you guys want it straight, do it straight. If you want it at 90, do that too. We don't all have to be doing the same exact thing. I started to kind of use my hips there, just ever so slightly. I don't know if you guys noticed that, but I was kind of using my hips to swing the weight up. Just ever so slightly, so I'm not going to get too hard on myself, but that's something that I need to try and eliminate. No moving the body, just the shoulder. I'm almost trying to reach for the stars when I do this lift. I'm trying to grab something really high up. I think that that will help the concentric phase of the lift. So the shortening of the muscle. This will help it to kind of imagine that you're trying to grab something. Well, then of course you want to try and slow it down as much as you can. That's something that I think I could improve on with this lift. Slow it down a little bit. I think that next program, I'd like to, at least in the beginning, avoid sets of 4 or 5, especially 5. I don't really want any sets of 5 at a given muscle group. I feel like it gets boring for you guys to watch me the same thing for too long. And there's definitely certain exercises which are more entertaining to watch anyway. People love watching guys that are super strong and are like lifting with everything they got. But people don't enjoy as much when, other people just lift like, like a cable fly or something, So I'm still going to include this lift, obviously, in the next program because I'm not going to sacrifice the gains that me and you could make just for entertaining. But I think that there is a middle ground that can be reached where we get the best of both worlds. Ooh, definitely felt that one. It's nice to feel a burn in the muscle group that you're trying to work. In the early days of my lifting, it was really hard to feel a lot of the muscles working, especially something like my lats and my shoulders. So getting that reassurance is always a great thing, especially if you're a new lifter. Feeling that burn where you're supposed to, it tells you that you're on track. Next, we're finishing up chest, and we're gonna finish it with a unilateral cable fly. So the one where I'm gonna be holding on to one of the edges of this cable machine and then really getting a deep stretch while keeping my torso kind of relatively this way and then pushing off. So we're getting adduction across the body, which is one of the functions of the chest, but we're also getting pushing forward of the scapula and doing all the good movements that we want, okay? I'm going up 5 pounds because last time was a little bit light. I think I remember saying that I'd go up this time because last time it was new because I changed it from the bilateral variation to unilateral. Anyway, we're also going up in sets. We're going from 2 to 3. Okay. Well, I do feel like I could still go up in reps for this. This one is really one of those movements where I'm trying to get that deep stretch and get that full range of motion. It's almost like a finisher move. You know what I mean? Like it's designed to, in this case, in this program, it's designed to add in extra volume without the fatigue. I know I say it all the time, but that's what this is for. It's for getting a deep stretch, really feeling the motions of your chest, getting a pump, finishing it off. It's not meant to do everything that, say, the incline dumbbell press was meant to do. Oh, careful of that. So also with this lift, I'm truly focusing on squeezing at the top range of motion and stretching at the bottom. Remember, this isn't to build strength or to lift the most amount of weight that you possibly can. This is more of that like bodybuilder-esque. We're squeezing, we're stretching, we're feeling it. And just after one set, I'll tell you, just after one set, I can feel this exercise's impact. It's definitely doing something in the right direction. So I'm going to start pausing at the top, squeezing the living hell out of it. Okay, just by really being consciously aware of the squeezing and stretching, I think I got a lot more out of that lift just inherently because of those two cues. Make sure you hydrate, guys. I don't go to the gym without a water bottle, especially for the sauna. Whew. Yeah, it really makes a huge difference making sure that you're squeezing at the very top. Feels wild. I haven't really done that in my lifting journey. Just focus on the squeezing because I always thought that as a natural lifter, it's all about strength. The strength is the golden ticket. It's the most important thing. If you're not getting strong, you're not getting bigger. Well, I agree with that in some sense. I don't think it's like a be all end all rule, you know. I think that to become the best version of yourself in a lifting setting, you guys should be incorporating all sorts of different types of effective training modalities. Strength is definitely important. You know, using all the different types of machines, weights, cables, free weights, dumbbells, bands even, you know, using all of those in an effective and efficient manner. And then, you know, using techniques like squeezing, but also using things where, you know, I mean, certain modalities lend themselves to different exercises. That's what's so fun about this, you know. You can really get creative with your programming and with your routine from day to day if you understand how to program effectively. And so, like, for something like this, I'm not trying to to lift the whole world. You know what I mean? I'm just trying to get that squeeze and that stretch and really get a pump in my muscles. Versus the stuff that started out this day, you know, like the dumbbell incline bench press, that one was to lift the most amount of weight. And that's why I was like, you know what, we're gonna stick to this weight until I get stronger at it. So last set of these. Let's make it count. Oh. Like I was saying with that like 5 cents, five set thing, it's like impossible to do in one weight and not have it be really challenging by the 5th set, even if it's easier in the 1st set. That's how it felt with this one, but it was only 3 sets. By the 3rd set, geez, my chest is gassed. But I mean, I guess that's what makes a great final chest exercise, you know? Okay, guys, to finish week 3, day 4, we're gonna do 2 tricep exercises, 3 for each. We're starting with the cable overhead tricep extension, and then we're gonna do some tricep push downs. I like this one because on one hand, you get a deep stretch which really hits the long head. On the other hand, or the other exercise for that matter, you're really focusing on getting that peak contraction. So I think it's a nice combination, and I especially love it because we don't have to change it up much. All we gotta do is bring up the cable up higher and then hit the other exercise. Anyway, I'm going up 5 pounds on this because I think I said last time was a little bit too easy. I got 12 repetitions for all 3 sets last time. So we're gonna go up because if I'm getting 12, which is the upper end for this exercise, for all 3 sets, I think it's time to bump it up a little. All right, I'm going up another 5 pounds because that felt too easy. I probably could have gone upwards of 15. In fact, I'm kind of upset that I stopped at 12. I think that I had that number in my head and I was like, oh, 12. It's going to be beating last time if I hit 12 with this weight. Sometimes you just got to like push it to its limits no matter what. So I really need to stop with that mindset. Anyway, I'm going to go up 5 more pounds. Maybe I'll even go up 5 more in the last set. We'll see how it feels. But overall, I think my form was okay for that. I find myself kind of moving my arms in a little bit as I bring it up, which I think is probably a form of cheating. So I'm going to try and keep my elbows locked back as much as possible. Okay? I think I'm ready for it. That's better. Now that felt perfect. That felt like the perfect amount of weight that I want with the perfect amount of reps. Now, part of me thinks that may just be because I didn't rest for a very long time in between sets. But again, I mean, I also did go up 5 pounds. So who could say? Either way, I think we got that fatigue threshold that we want. We got enough stimulus for growth out of that set. And I don't think that it would be like included in the other set. Remember before I spoke about how if you're not resting long enough in between your sets, then how can you even differentiate and say that one set is its own and the other set is its own? Wouldn't they be more like joined together like a married couple, a married set couple or something? Well, just try and rest as much as you can in between sets. And I think that rest period in between tricep overhead extensions, set 1 and set 2, was a little bit of a gray zone. Okay. This, now I'm starting to get into the territory after talking so much that this is probably going to be its own set for sure. Definitely a hard line instead of kind of like a mushy line. Hope you guys are following what I'm saying. I'll take that one. I think that out of all the weeks so far, this one, for this exercise, for that matter, all the weeks that I've done this exercise, this has been the best week, which is saying something. All right, we're finishing off the program with 3 sets of the tricep push down. Last time we did 2 sets, so by nature, this is going to be progressive overload for volume's sake. I have also went up 5 pounds because last time I got both sets 1 and 2 for it was 52.5 for 15 reps, which is quite a bit. So I'm going up, gonna still try and aim for that like 10 to 15 mark. Let's see it. Okay, that was a great one. I definitely feel a burn out of that set. I got 15, so I'm happy with that. And then again, this one's kind of like that chest movement that we just performed, where we're really trying to get that extra volume in, get that squeeze and that stretch without impacting our recovery too much. So that's why I'm making sure that when I'm doing these, I'm going all the way up as far as my flexibility allows and my joints allow, and all the way down to where I'm basically squeezing my tricep and walking out. I see a lot of guys and girls stop like right here, then not. Like they're only doing the middle range of the repetition. You're doing yourself a major disservice by telling you that right now. That may fly on, it doesn't fly on anything to be honest, but it may fly a little bit better on like a bench press or something where you're lifting maximal loads and it's really, really heavy. But this one, this is more of like a finisher exercise where it's not designed to be shortchanged for its range of motion, I'll tell you. Whew. You notice sometimes I pause a little bit intraset. That's just to kind of get my bearings and make sure that I'm keeping up with the form that I want and I'm involving the most intensity. I'm not really sure if that's harmful for the set or not. If you guys know, let me know if you guys know the answer to that. I don't think it is at all because I'm only pausing for like a second at the top just to kind of squeeze out as much intensity as I can, kind of get my bearings. But yeah. We got one more, and then we're done with week 3, day 4. And then we only have 2 more days of this week. And then we're on to the last week of the program, which is pretty crazy. Anyway, let's finish it. Maybe I'll give myself a little bit more of a rest. I've spoken about it before, but it's easy to want to skip the last few sets of the exercise, or at the very least rush through it. And I'm definitely, I've done that many times in the past. I used to be a pro at it. You know, I'll skip arms, you know, I already did back. Oh, I'll not do this last set because I'd rather just get on with my day, go home and eat or whatever. That's okay once in a while, but if you're doing it consistently, and eventually it's going to catch up with you. Or at the very least, you're not going to be where you should be, you know? Okay. See you guys tomorrow for the next one. I hope you guys enjoyed this walkthrough of week 3, day 4. See you later.